You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Black Hollywood Live's The Trend. I'm your host, Derrial, Christon, and joining me today is a full panel.
We got a full house.
We got the full house for Super Bowl weekend.
I know.
You know, we got
Super
Courtney
Bowl.
Stewart.
Yep, I'm back.
I like to hear it, Courtney.
You know, I pulled it all back.
Pulled it
you
back.
approve of that?
I
Thanks,
approve.
Derrial.
I approve.
I seek your
We've been
approval.
battling today, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. We got award-winning manager and producer Steven Adams with us today.
Hello, nice to be here.
And we have superstar actress Mattilyn Rochester Kravitz. I just like saying her name. It's just so many just great things in that name. My favorite, the city I was born in, one of my favorite musicians, Lenny Kravitz, and just, you know, you are just here. You know, that's all that matters.
Yes, that's the bottom line.
That's right. Well, we're going to talk
That's all
about
that
your
matters.
one-woman play that we're excited to talk about. We're going to talk about everything that you're working on, Steven, as well. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl and a lot of topics today. Kobe Bryant, all the way down to a variety of different things. So, Courtney, let's
Well,
get it,
we're
get
going
it
to
popping.
start on an exciting note because we want to be happy, at least leading into the show.
Right.
So we're going to start out talking about, give you a little update slash some things to look out for coming out of Sundance. So, you know, Sundance has been going on for a few days now and everybody's there. It's really interesting because I was scrolling my Instagram feed and I was like, whoa, all of my Sundance posts are from Black people. And
That's
it was
pretty
like
dope.
a moment. I had a moment. I was like, wow, this is the Black folks have taken on Sundance hardcore this year. And there's a lot of cool projects coming out. I'm just going to mention a few that have shown and are coming up and that people are kind of chattering about. So you guys make sure you're keeping your eye out as they sort of get, you know, distribution, hopefully, and spread around the cities later this year. But first up, we have one of the most exciting things that many of us were talking about. Everybody was super excited last year about Hustlers. Because it's like, oh, stripper movie, what happened? What's going on? Like, J-Lo's gonna be naked.
Right.
Well, there's one more stripper movie that a lot of us have been waiting on. If y'all don't remember, about 5 years ago, on Twitter, there was an amazing Twitter feed from a young lady who had an experience with another stripper that basically she told the story of her road trip with this other stripper down to Florida where she ran it. There was pimps, there was gangsters, there was sex trafficking, there was people getting beat up, people getting shot, there were drugs. It was everything going on, and she told the whole story over like a few, it was like, I forget how many tweets it was.
It was like 150.
It was like 150.
Yeah,
It was
something
like,
like that.
but she told that entire trip story, and they have finally gotten this movie to the big screen. It is starring Taylor Page and Riley Keough, and it is called Zola. So you guys keep listening, keep your Google alerts on, because when this movie comes out, you need to flock to the theaters. I hear there's a lot of creative filmmaking happening in this movie, just kind of the way they break the fourth wall and how they're dealing with text messages and things like that. Just in terms of creative, I've heard great things. They did a really good job. It's a Black woman director. I think her name is pronounced, and I'm gonna probably mess this up, Janisha Bravo. But she's a Black woman director. She's out here. She brought it to us, and I'm excited. This was number one on my list when I was waiting for Sundance,
I felt the excitement
it
from
was
you.
number one on my list because the Twitter feed, like I can remember like calling friends, like we were talking about this Twitter feed for so long, and then I remember the stories about how they were trying to figure out, can you option a Twitter feed? Like how does that work?
This is new territory.
Like
for
it's
us.
new territory. So it kind of just fits in this whole new digital world that we're in, and it's super fun and exciting. So you guys make sure you keep your ears out and check that out. Another movie coming that has gotten a lot of attention is called Charm City Kings, starring Will Catlett and Meek Mill. And it's an urban drama about kids growing up in Baltimore and sort of dirt bike culture, and they're kind of they're saying it's sort of a homage playback to the energy of Boys in the Hood, Juice, those types of films. So we're gonna
You gotta love Juice.
You gotta love
And Boys in the
Juice.
Hood,
So
Juice.
it's a, you know, it's a coming of age sort of story and drama. There's tragedy. There's all of that. We got Tiana Paris in it as well. So keep your eye out. All those Black leads, young Black kids growing up on the screen. I mean, we got some exciting things coming there. Also, Dee Reese, who directed Mudbound, if you guys don't remember, Mudbound had Mary J. Blige in it. It was freaking brilliant.
Yes, it was.
She is back again, and she has directed a film called The Last Thing He Wanted, and it's starring Anne Hathaway and Ben Affleck and Willem Dafoe. So I was super excited because I thought, whoa, that's a cast.
That's a serious cast, yeah.
That's a cast. And
Yeah.
after being snubbed for her work on Mudbound, I was
Right.
excited to see that she's working with this talent and interested to see how the story goes out. It's about some running arms in Central America and journalism and trying to get stories out about that. It's suspense, there's drama, there's action. I'm excited. Can't wait to hear and see what's up with that. And last but not least, I'm going to bring up Bad Hair. Bad Hair is coming from Justin Simeon. You guys know him from Dear White People. This is a comedy horror story about a sister who had to get a weave to succeed in life. And it turns out, y'all, that the weave has a mind of its own.
Oh.
So,
Don't they
As
all?
they do.
I already want to see that. I'll be
I
the
have
first
no
to laugh.
idea what they're doing. Like, I'm like, is the weave gonna be running around the streets like those old school horror movies in the 50s,
donuts and the
like the
tomato.
Blob and stuff?
Yeah, the killer
I-
tomato
around the corner.
Oh,
Right.
what's happening? I have
Right.
no idea what's gonna happen. I just know that I'm so ready, and
I'm all about
I've
it.
heard from friends that it was quite enjoyable. So I'm excited. You guys make sure, like I said, turn them Google alerts on
Yes.
because we have a lot of content, and that's just a few items from the list. There were lots of films. Coming through. Lena Waithe also showed her TV show that's coming up on BET called
Yeah.
20s. There's just so much content right now to keep your eye out for and make sure you're supporting because we people of color are making waves, guys.
And it's taken a moment to get
It's
here.
taken a
this is-
while.
I've been going to Sundance for a long time, and I remember feeling completely alone there.
Yeah.
And then, we kind of hit critical mass. There was a group called Black House that was
Yes.
founded,
Yeah.
which has done tremendous work. I'm on the board, I'm proud to say. And we have worked with Sundance hand in hand to develop a platform that made people feel comfortable, to let them know the doors were open. And now here we are with all this. I can't take credit for the
As
creativity.
I say, we get
but
to thank
but
you as part of helping get it up there. It's
No.
part
We
of
thank
it, though.
them. But it just, it's really them. It's
Yeah.
really them. But them knowing the doors were open, now look what's happened. I mean,
Yeah.
it's we're having a creative renaissance right
Yes.
And I also think that it's wonderful that it shows an example of new ideas. Like somebody can get a movie made by tweeting.
Yeah.
To me, it's really inspiring that just tell your story.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's it. Tell your story, and our voices are being heard. Because I think so many times in the past, it's been just a narrow, view of what a Black person is.
Yes.
And we are very varied,
Yes.
and I love that.
And we're getting away from what did someone call it, the trauma fetish of certain films.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And
Well,
we're opening up
yeah.
all kinds of other stories now, which I think is
Yes.
brilliant.
Yes.
And we've talked
100%.
about it on the show a couple times. I mean, yes, there are many forms of, for example, slavery stories that still can be told, and we're open to that. But there is a lot of layers to us that like this shows that we can talk about so many different things that need to be out there, and people need to see those stories as well.
sure.
And we're also coming off of another year of Oscars So White, so this is promising for the years to come, or the next couple of years at least, of these projects being put out there and picked up, and we get to see them on the screen or on the small screen, whatever that may
Yeah,
be.
and whatever screen it is, that's the other thing. Even reading the list and kind of reading about what each movie or project is about, it actually got me excited to want to go to the movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
I was
Yes.
like, ooh, I actually want to go to. I hope.
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't mean they'll all be at the movies. They might end up on Netflix. I don't know. But it made me excited to want to go see
Which
a
is
movie.
like, that's the new movie.
I mean, it
Netflix
is.
the
It
new
really
movies.
is.
It is. However, I would like some more big
I
screen
feel
stuff that's not
Yeah.
the Avengers. Even though I enjoy the Avengers, like it would be awesome, like to just see some more. I do. I
I'm
love
ready
them.
for some
I enjoy it.
sci-fi, some fantasy.
Some fantasy,
Yeah, I need some fantasy.
something,
With
and
Stephen
some
Some
fun
Octavia
stories.
Butler.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Oh yes, and I just have to say because there's a period piece that Tessa Thompson is in. It's taking place in the 50s, and it's like a love story, love triangle. I'm just like, I'm so excited to see a period piece with two Black leads, like
Yes.
about a romantic affair. Like that's it's not about slavery. It's not about like something. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
We deserve that.
We deserve
It's time.
We deserve it, guys. We deserve it. Well, moving on. Somebody who maybe deserves to get smacked. I don't know. You can decide what you feel about this. Mr. Terry Crews was blowing up our airwaves this week because, he was out chatting with the Today Show and as expected, one would expect that he would get asked about the situation on America's Got Talent with Gabrielle Union. For those of you that don't know, Gabrielle Union basically has accused America's Got Talent of sexism, racism, and basically just a hostile, disgusting work environment that she didn't want to be part of. And she feels like that was probably why she was let go, because she made complaints about these things. So on the Today Show, Terry was there talking about something, and they said, hey, bruh, what you think about this? Do you think that it was racist and sexist and all of these things? Terry had to go on to say that he never experienced racism there. However, he can't speak to sexism. But then he had to continue his statement and say the following, quote, "It was the most diverse place I have ever been in my 20 years of entertainment." And so everybody took that as him kind of, throwing Gab under the bus, not really supporting her. She has since tweeted the following, quote, "Can someone please ask about what happens to all that diversity folks are talking about behind the scenes? Like, legit, where the hell is all the diversity in the production, though, homie?" She was talking to Terry. And she went on to say, in the decision-making ranks who control the fate of the diversity in front of the camera, man, we all agreed to let the investigation be completed before speaking. But if we gonna do this, baby, let's go. So basically, she was clearly upset. Supposedly, they all agreed they wasn't gonna talk about it until the investigation was done, but Terry's out running his mouth. And he then responded to her tweet, because he still couldn't shut it down and just be quiet and accept that maybe you just don't need to say nothing else. He tweeted the next comment saying, "There is only one woman on earth I have to please. Her name is Rebecca.
Oh boy.
Not my mother, my sister, my daughters, or coworkers. I will let their husbands, boyfriends, partners take care of them. Rebecca gives me wings." So he used his wife to shield him from
little bit.
I was gonna say that.
Just a little bit.
That's a little bit of a shield. Yes,
behavior.
yes,
So were you guys upset that he made these comments, or bothered, or?
My mother always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I just think he should have just not said anything. Last time I checked, he's not a woman, so.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I feel like there is a process that was that was happening, and that's all he should have referenced these people back to.
Yeah.
Anything else is starting trouble.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't understand. There's a lot of debate about whether or not black women, because this sort of spiraled the conversation on social media about black women feeling like they're constantly having to support black men in their times of need, and they are there for them and they're supported them, but black men literally drop black women on the curb. Like, anytime anything happens to us, they don't have our backs in the same way. Do you guys feel that exists?
I mean, well, first, just to comment on this, I mean, listen, if Terry's experience was different from Gabrielle's, that's not his fault. But on the flip side, just be quiet. Just don't. Just don't say anything. Don't comment on that. And then
just don't
also,
say anything.
Don't say anything. And the problem also is that they've said in the past that Gabrielle supported Terry when he was going through his situation,
Right.
And his accusations, and she supported him. So it's like, okay, bro, like, you got to pay it forward.
Shady.
Yeah, that's a little shady.
And listen, I mean, race and sex aside, this is a tough business.
Yeah.
Yes.
Period. We all need to support one another.
Yes.
But then when you throw these extra aspects in, because I always say we're in a business where we're required to have diversity people because it's not coming naturally.
Yeah.
If it was natural, we would not have to have departments and people saying, do this way, because we'd already be doing it. So
Exactly.
we know there's a problem. It's an institutional problem, and people are recognizing it, but it's taken, a whole department to make you do the right thing.
Yes.
Instead of hiring people and moving people in a direction where there's enough critical mass of every gender, every type of sexuality, every type of race, so that we don't have these problems. I think that's a bigger question, which is that this whole business needs to look at itself and open the doors a bit more.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah.
I wish I could come up with, like, I tried to come up with why Terry would have said anything. Like, I was trying to be the devil's advocate.
I cannot speak for
tried.
him.
I couldn't succeed.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I couldn't,
I tried.
and I usually can find an angle
Yeah.
on something, and I just couldn't find the angle on this. I
Yeah.
just couldn't figure out why you would do that. I simply hope that
That's
Rebecca,
true.
I really
Like,
did
why?
try. Like, why? Because you had so many outs. It could have been no comment. It could have been, you know what? It's under investigation. We're not going to talk
Yeah.
about that right now, but keep it moving.
I mean, I could even accept it if he said, listen, that wasn't my experience on the show, but I have empathy for what she went through on this. And if this is her reality, this should definitely be, taken care of or investigated further, whatever,
Yeah.
even in general, but just to kind of and the wife comment was the one that kind of threw me, just made me look
I
inside.
hope Rebecca gave him wings and smacked him on the back of the head.
It's like, all right. And I hope she doesn't respond now.
No, I'm sure she won't.
I'm sure she
won't.
would just
not
be good. Just leave it now.
Leave it now. It's out there in the
guys,
universe.
Twitter is amazing. We got content. We got Zola, but sometimes you just need to put your phone down.
Yeah.
Twitter wars are like the rap wars of the
Straight up, the 80s.
you know, Roxanne, the real Roxanne.
Roxanne Shante.
Right. Like, I'm gonna take these bamboo earrings off. What's up?
That's why I don't go on Twitter.
It's a special space.
It's a
Special space. Yes. All right. Well, we're gonna move on to our EUR Web Story Spotlight of the Week. We don't have our sound effects today, J-Lo. That's okay.
It's okay.
All right, let's remix that, J-Lo. Give me that again. EUR Web Story Spotlight of the Week. There you go, girl. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so this is still hard for me to talk about as we talk about social media and we just talk about media as a whole. We lost one of our huge basketball and just icons of now, Kobe Bryant, unfortunately with his daughter Gigi and 7 other people in a helicopter plane crash last Sunday. It's still hard for me to really talk about this, but there has been, a lot of information that's come out now about what happened, and they're still investigating the helicopter, and obviously lives were lost. And one thing that has been a big subject matter is that I don't know how you guys found out, but I, among many others, found out, well, through Courtney, actually. Breaking news, and via TMZ. Yeah. So, TMZ was one of the first people, as they always or usually are, one of the first outlets or networks and media sources to present information like this. And a lot of people are very upset this time because of the fact that they feel like TMZ jumped the gun too much, because when I went on the Google and after Courtney had contacted me Sunday morning, I couldn't find anything about it. There was a one little line at the bottom of Google that said TMZ reports the tragedy with Kobe Bryant. I clicked on it and it's the first article there. No other outlet, NBC, ABC, CNN, nothing was showing this information. And people are upset because they feel that a lot of the outlets have come on to say now the reason they didn't report the information is because the families of the people in the plane or the helicopter had not been contacted yet. So people are very much upset. They've started a 300K plus signed petition calling for the cancellation now of TMZ because of this information being put out before the families could be contacted. How do you guys feel about that? And wow. It's a heavy subject.
That's a heavy subject. Yeah. I mean, we're still. Sorry, you want to?
No, go ahead.
I mean, because we're still in the middle of mourning this great figure, but I have to say that I find it indecent.
Yeah.
That all these people got that information. That information was circulated about these families and their children before they were even notified by the authorities. The LAPD has come out against this. And I think they used the same words, that it was indecent, it was appalling, that these people were not given the opportunity to process this. And of course, we're talking about a public figure whose family needed to start working on protecting the legacy as well.
Yeah.
And all this, because we've already got people going ape on this thing.
Oh, sure. Right.
So I think it's unforgivable. I really do, and I think the public will make their moves.
Do you think that the show should be canceled?
I think the public will make that decision.
Okay.
I really, we'll leave it to that. The mass.
Stephen, that was very un-Terry Crews
I was
of
like,
you.
that was a good answer.
Good answer, Stephen. Very un-Terry Crews of you.
I'm learning.
And he said that they had permission from the family, and that just sounds very vague because or his people. I just doubt.
Unless it was Vanessa. Right. Who are the people?
Yeah, some guy with
a
Kobe jersey on.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, who is that? And I just doubt that moments after her husband's tragic ending, she was like, yeah, sure, go ahead,
That's
talk
not
about
the
it.
place.
It just doesn't seem
We're talking about the LA
true.
Times. We're talking about an official story. Yeah. We're talking about giving an exclusive to a reporter who will handle it sensitively.
Exactly.
Not to put it on TMZ, which is all about roasting and turning people's reality for profit.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's real life. It's a real family member.
I just can't imagine, because these people were not famous. I mean, can you imagine finding out that your child had died from TMZ? I just don't. I have no respect for that.
And I think that's what makes it harder, because I feel like whatever permission they got, it probably just came from a Kobe camp, where whoever that was.
Exactly.
But the issue was it wasn't just Kobe and his daughter. There were all these other families that had no idea.
9 people
and
total.
it was just,
And they had to, all the processes to officially identify these people had to be gone through.
Yes.
And I don't know, I feel like we go back to this Twitter thing. We are in such an immediate culture right now. Sometimes it's hard to even realize that you need to put the brakes on to actually be a
Well, that
human
was my next thought process, because I was trying to again see the other side and understand, because for me at the same time I'm like, well, TMZ is what we've made it. We've accepted and wanted that information at that speed, being the first. That's the culture as we have chosen to let it and allow it to operate. So why should they be punished for doing what we've basically set them up to do and accepted? And because initially my initial reaction, obviously, I was like, oh my God, because I couldn't function, and I don't even know him. I didn't even like him. He beat Allen Iverson. I hated him.
Silly, yes.
So, and to imagine that that is how the information was received, I can't even fathom. I just can't fathom it.
Yeah.
However, at the same time, on the outside, being objective, these are the decisions that we have made as a culture, and these are the practices that we have made acceptable in multiple other circumstances.
And so maybe this is a watershed moment where we
got to decide.
We
have to decide.
We have to. Because we're moving to the 21st century, and maybe we do need to take a look at slowing things down once in a while, and actually understanding that these quick decisions have profound reactions that could last for decades.
Consequences.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of like the battle back and forth when I saw the petition of where I was at with it, because I'm like, but I'm also one of those people that look at TMZ to get the quick information.
Right.
This is just, unfortunately, is someone who is a icon, and people feel differently about it because of how it affected the family. But if it was someone who got into, I don't know, some other situation, a celeb fight, I would look at TMZ for this quick information.
Right.
And everyone now, every young person is looking at quick information. What can I get quick? How do I look at this for 2 seconds? That's why their TV shows don't even last as long anymore, because now we want 7 minutes of information, 6 minutes of information.
That's why Quibi can be a thing.
Exactly why Quibi can be a thing.
To your point,
exactly.
it's a cultural response.
Exactly.
It's a cultural response.
Yeah, for sure.
And also we don't necessarily go to TMZ for ethical news.
Right.
No, let's be honest. It's the opposite. Right. It's a kind of a dirty little thing.
But it's always accurate.
However,
it's
always very accurate.
We've watched people suffer through addiction. We've watched marriages fall apart. And we've been entertained by that. I think this is a wake-up call for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's my feeling on that.
Do I think they should be canceled? No. Do I think that there should be a little bit of a slap on the wrist, and a big slap on the wrist? Yes. Because if I was, like you guys were saying, if I was the family member and that's how I found out. I mean, there was even rumors about Rick Fox going around.
That was horrible.
That was horrible, and his daughters found out on TMZ. So it's like, and it wasn't even him, on the helicopter. So it's just like, when is it going to stop? And it's only going to get worse.
But you just said a big slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
What could
What
that
does that
possibly
mean?
be in a world where news is monetized and
I don't know.
news is for
fine?
profit?
Is it a huge fine? I don't know. I don't know. You're right. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't know.
What do we do?
I think there will be a cultural response. I'll be curious to see what people decide.
See, and
they're
it's
gonna
so
do about
funny
it.
because then the cynical part of me is like, well, it'll last for about another week, and then we'll forget that that's what they did. I mean, we won't forget the Kobe thing. I don't even know when that'll ever be out.
Remember the Princess Diana response?
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, we're going to take these cheap tabloids off the counters. They're not there anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's changed anything. The tabloid mindset has moved.
Still there.
It just went online.
It just went online.
So they,
And now we don't have to even verify it. Yeah. If it's online, it's true.
We're doomed.
Yikes.
We're doomed. Well, we here at BHL, we just want to offer a huge condolences to Kobe's families, to all the victims on the helicopter. I can't even imagine this is going to be something that we're talking about 20 years from now, and we'll remember that moment of where you were at when you found out this news.
Yes.
So, we want to offer our biggest condolences and prayers to the family. So, but yes, as this story develops. All right, we're going to go on to our last story of the day, which is also developing.
Get it light.
Yeah, we're going to get it light.
keep it light
I'm not even really
sometimes.
sure how to transition into this, to be honest.
You
Just
like how I
say-
did that to you.
yeah,
though.
yeah,
just say
how I
fried
did that.
chicken.
We're going to go into, other things affecting people around the world is Popeyes chicken. And now they've, listen, there was a craze about a month ago about the chicken sandwich.
Yes, it was
I brought a
crazy.
couple on the show.
We ate 'em on the
We
show,
ate 'em on the
guys.
show. I had to stand in line for like
were-
an
How
hour.
were they?
I heard that. Was it good?
I'm not
was
going to lie to
good.
you.
It was good.
It needs a little bit more
good.
sauce.
It was
Okay,
amazing.
wait, can we
but it
talk
was
about the
good.
what I
fact
heard.
that a fried chicken fast food company has tapped into popular culture?
Oh, yes.
Pop
This is kind of
culture.
unprecedented.
It's
Yes.
unprecedentedly brilliant. Okay,
crazy.
whatever they
And a kind of hood chicken place too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like not even. It's not like it's like bougie chicken. You know what I'm saying?
Like there's
It's
no
like-
Popeyes in Beverly
Right,
Hills.
right. This is Popeyes in Beverly Hills. Now it may be soon now, but the Popeyes I remember.
they driving over the hill like
Right.
we gonna go get this Popeyes.
Right.
Let's go to Popeyes for a day on
Right.
drive.
Like we've heard about
Right.
this sandwich.
Right.
Where is it?
Well, you know that happened.
How do you
You
get
know
it?
that happened.
You can have them delivered.
So
it's okay.
good.
Yeah, it's so good.
Postmates now.
That's
So
Postmates.
it's like,
Yes,
yes,
exactly.
girl.
Yes. Well, not only do they have a bomb chicken, they now are adding clothing
Yes.
to their
So funny.
to their offerings.
Again, I'm not mad.
No,
their
so
offerings.
basically what they're adding
They
is
got
a
merch.
clothing line after a Twitter user pointed out the similarities between Beyonce's newly released Adidas collection and some of the kind of clothing that they were creating for actually the clothing was really created for Popeyes Foundation called Popeyes Foundation Family Fund, where it provides food and support to communities in need and victims of natural disasters. So that's typically
the good part,
I
That's
think.
why it was
Yeah.
actually
Great.
And
Created.
imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
very
true.
true.
But
Very true.
there are limits.
Yes.
There are limits, but listen, people are now talking about the Popeyes clothing. You can buy an oversized jacket, you can get a crew neck T-shirt, a polo, sweatshirts. They come in burgundy and
hats.
orange, so that's where the Beyonce colors came
Yes.
in. Now they got the employees doing different social media posts with their best Beyonce posts.
wow.
But you know what?
Amazing.
Good for them
This
for
is amazing.
for
Can
we go
jumping
to
on that
Popeyes after
social
the
media.
show?
Right, right. I should have brought some sandwiches in today.
You really should have. You're not on your job.
But
I'm not.
Beyonce
See, I would've
should
brought
come
it in.
out with a chicken sandwich now.
And,
Right.
or they need
Okay,
to come
right.
up like,
There you go.
Yes,
Right, that's true.
Yes.
Right.
They should team up and come up with like
A
a
Blue Ivy
special,
sandwich.
a blue
Right.
Shirley
special
got
sandwich on the
clothing, a
menu
Blue Ivy
to
sandwich.
support
That's
the
it.
charity.
That's a good
it.
idea.
They
Okay,
really
that's a
should.
good
She
idea.
has her family's from Louisiana as well.
There you
so
go.
That's
it
true.
would be
They
perfect.
could probably upgrade the spicing.
You know,
That's true.
You
That's
know?
true. I'm
Get
not mad
it
at
on
that.
your level.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Just need a little bit more sauce there,
little more
Popeyes.
sauce.
And then Jay-Z's gonna call Carl's Jr.
Right.
to get some Rockaware.
Rockaway. Right.
Let's pull it all
Right.
together.
Right.
Let's bring
I'm
White Castle
You know,
into
this
it.
is a making of the minds right here.
Yes.
This is some-
No, we're
Yeah.
giving
We need
out
a
too many
cut.
ideas.
This might
We
be an
gotta-
idea.
know,
Wait, but
we
I
gotta-
finished.
I think McDonald's is already running their own clothing line too. I think.
I think they are. I don't know about
Are they
I don't-
really?
I think they are.
I'm wearing one of it.
Oh, wow, yeah. I thought that looked familiar.
Okay.
And, well, you know,
I didn't want to, brag.
it looks good though, Stevie. You wear it well.
Thank you
man.
so
You wear
much.
it well. Listen, if they can capitalize on this, good for them.
And
you
if
know
it's
what I mean?
helping somebody, even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's helping
Yes,
people.
yes,
So
for
and
sure,
the prices range from $10 to $40. So it's
Even
not-
better.
so-
because
It's
most of us
affordable.
can't afford
So
Ivy
wait,
Park.
you can afford the look and a hamburger.
And a chicken
And a
sandwich.
chicken sandwich.
Chicken sandwich.
Excuse me.
Get you a chicken
But
sandwich
real
and a
talk,
jacket.
the lowest thing on the price range is almost less than what the meal costs at if you get like a full sandwich and fries or a little
That's
side,
true.
it's like $12 now.
Or you
Oh,
get the
it's
meal.
like
Or
10.
lot
you
of
get the
money.
meal.
It's 10.
$12?
It's like
You
10.
spending $12 for a meal at Popeyes?
It's like 10.
But that's for
It's
one person or two people.
That's one.
One.
That's like
One
a
person.
sandwich
One.
and like
That's
a
not a-
side.
that's not
It's
a
like
bargain.
Sandwich, side, and a drink.
Wow.
Okay, so
Fast
that's
food
why
is
I don't
getting
eat fast food because they
expensive.
play. What happened to?
It's like $10.
It's going to be cheaper to go vegetarian.
You
or
know?
vegan.
Get a
I would
carrot.
think
I'm
it was
just
like
saying.
$6 maybe.
No, the
$6 or
days of $6
$7.
Happy Meals and all that stuff are over.
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
The little
I got
$12
through
at
college on a
Popeyes makes
$2.99
no
value
sense.
meal at
Yes.
Burger King.
$6.99. You just getting the 6-piece nuggets.
Oh my
That's it.
God! So now college kids are going in debt just for education as well as to eat because, good Lord, how
To
what
eat
are you
bad
buying?
food.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So that's why they have those little dollar menus. Sometimes you can get a little cheeseburger, you know.
Well, they do
fried.
still have dollar
Some of
menus.
those
That's
places
good.
do. I don't know about Popeyes, but the other places do. All right, well, good for you, Popeyes. You know.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
They should
And,
send us some of the free wardrobe.
If
That's
free
all.
wardrobe,
I will
Beyonce.
wear the jacket, and people be like, "Oh, you got Ivy Park?" Girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Beyonce,
Sure do.
If Beyonce takes the idea, send us a little check, you know? Just a little bit.
If she
little
gets
bit.
that sandwich.
I know, right?
All right. Now on to you guys. Pass the chicken.
Oh, my
and
God.
Go on to
The
you guys
chicken.
and what you are working on.
Yes.
And you have, well, let's just start with you. You have a one-woman play right now. And
Yes.
let me get that title correct here. That title is The Long Goodbye.
Yes.
And it is the kind of theme around it is Alzheimer's, correct?
Yes, it is. But it is, I want to say, it's the funniest show you'll see about Alzheimer's, because Alzheimer's, there's a lot of humor, and if you don't laugh, you will just fall over and die. And both of my parents, the reason I said long goodbye, both my parents had early onset Alzheimer's. So my dad passed away in his 60s. So most of my adult life, I've been dealing with this disease, but the tagline is a mother who can't remember, a daughter who can't forget. And it's really about how this horrible disease helped heal our fractured relationship. You know, my mother was a high achiever to whom much is given, much is required kind of lady. And thought I should have a weaved so I could succeed, all of that. But it really served for me to see, like, she's my hero now. And I think I wanted to just share the story of forgiveness in a funny way. So.
How long did it take you to create the entire project?
Oh my gosh.
Or
I've been
was it
working
years?
on this show for probably 7 years.
Wow.
About 7 years. I was living in Tokyo. I was singing, having a good time. I came to visit, and I was like, something is wrong with her. And it just kind of spiraled into a crazy Grey Gardens kind of situation where, I couldn't leave her. And I would, every day I'd be like, this is a movie. This is a movie. My mom went into an assisted living. She was the only person of color. And it was interesting because she has a PhD. And when we got there, they called her by her first name. But then, you know, Mr. Dr. Bob over in the corner, he's Dr. Bob by every single person. So little things like that where I'm like, where are all of the African Americans who are suffering from this disease? And how do you pay for this kind of care? If she didn't have a pension, there would be no way. I have no idea, you know, what would happen. But what she did that was hilarious is my mother was still able to call Bud's Pools and get a contract to have spas in every apartment in the assisted living facility. They came with a contract and they said, we're here to retrofit the apartments. And they present this contract and they're like, he's like, Dr. Rochester ordered them. And they're like, she's a resident here. And when I asked her, she said, well, I just thought if I could have one, then everybody could have one.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So there's some funny moments to
Amazing.
just how it all works. So,
What made you decide to go with a one-woman show type style instead of, you know, a film script or a multi-act play?
It's interesting because a lot of people have said that it reads like a play and it reads like it has a kind of cinematic feel, but I'm always imitating people. And I've been imitating my mother since I was in the 4th grade, and the teacher called home and, you know, asked to speak to her, and I'm like, yes, this is she. She did what? No. I will talk to her, and that won't happen again. I mean, so I think it's just my storytelling style, and so I have a lot of fun with her. I know her very well.
I would imagine that you probably had some healing as well by doing this.
So cathartic.
Yeah.
There's actually one scene where my mother curses me out, and I get life from it because I'm able to kind of see through the lens that a lot of times we're not able to when, it's a parent. You see your parent as a parent, not as a person, not as a human being. So I'm happy that I got to know her. And really, I was talking about my mom to one of my friends. This is really what happened. And I was just talking about my mother like a dog. And my girlfriend was like, your mom is the reason that I went to college. She was the principal of my high school, and she said, oh, Mega, come here. Where are you going to college? And she said, I didn't get in, so I guess I'm going nowhere. And she said the very next day, they called and said they had reconsidered my application because your mother called. And so every time I tried to get sympathy for my plight, I would find something else out about my mother.
She affected so many other people besides yourself.
She did.
Yeah.
She did.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
Well, you've got some great body of work. I mean, you've been on a lot of the shows that I love: Law and Order, SUV, Boardwalk Empire, Cold Case. So what have been some of your favorite things to work on, and what's outside of this one woman show? What's next for you?
Well, what's next is I really want to, I think, bring awareness to what it looks like to have someone be demented, because it's such a slow and subtle process. I'd love to do a tour, to do talks, to just educate the public on just little nuances, because a person doesn't just fall apart all at once. They're little things, and we all forget our keys. We all, may forget someone's name, but as it progresses, it can have tragic results financially. Families can just fall apart. So that's one aspect. And of course, I love the stage. So, but I'm also passionate about, what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And I think it's a wonderful vehicle, to tell stories.
And the show is actually tomorrow night at the White Fire Theater.
Yes, tomorrow night.
Come check her out.
Yes. There's
Here
only
in
15
LA.
tickets left.
Hey,
She's selling them out,
Sell 'em out. You
y'all.
gotta get 'em
Get
quick.
'em. Yes.
get them quick.
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Steven,
Yes,
you're a veteran in this industry as
I
well.
am indeed. I've been here since the year 1900.
You look good.
You look
Are you a
great.
vampire?
Black don't cry.
Like on crack.
Pretty much.
What are you drinking?
You are the founding
Human blood, exactly.
Human blood, right. You are the founding partner of Alta Global Media,
Yes.
and you produce some amazing work. You got Netflix. You got the solo piece of Rodney King's
Yes.
story. You work with Spike Lee on several things as well.
Yes, I have.
And you started out in this game at Paradigm, right?
Yes, I did.
Were you an agent?
I was an agent trainee.
Okay.
But I grew up in the Bay Area, and I wound up working in finance a little bit to, please my high-achieving father.
Yeah,
I was listening to her, I was like, this sounds like my dad. We know these dragon parents. but
Very
they're-
well.
And they are right to
And
push.
they are right.
Because, when you get finished having somebody put you through boot camp, you're ready for all the rest
You're
of
ready
the
for life.
nonsense.
That's
Yeah.
it.
And it really is true. I mean,
true.
I didn't really understand what my father was doing to me until I got here, and I thought, these people, their little games they're trying to run. You don't know anything.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I worked in banking and finance when I was in college, and but always in the back of my mind I wanted to be in film.
Yeah.
And then one day I literally just woke up and said, I'm out of here, and I had a series of going away parties, and I wound up saying, anybody anybody from Hollywood, bring them. And one girl showed up and said, when you come to LA, call me. I work in a casting office. I didn't know from Hollywood, so I got here and she's like, there's a job open at this agency. Tell them we sent you. So I went in there. I was like, I'm getting this job. She sent me. They're like, great. When can you start? I'm like, tomorrow. They're like, okay. So I was literally in LA for like 2 weeks, and I wound up getting a job at this agency.
Wow, that's a
Wow.
great story.
So that was
a big
crazy,
deal.
and then it just kind of took on a life of its own. I wound up working there for 2 years, and then I got an offer to become a manager with Helen Sugland, who represents Lawrence Fishburne, Eric Stoltz, Blair Underwood at the time.
I've never heard of any of those people.
I know.
Like,
I know. I was so
oh,
unfortunate to work with
just,
such
you know.
small folks. And Helen's an amazing black woman who's currently producing Blackish with Lawrence.
Yes.
And she is the veteran. She is amazing. And I started the theater company at the same time, again, and because when you're in your 20s, you can do these things.
You can.
And like I miss those days. But I would leave those jobs and then go and work in theater, and I wound up producing a show with a group called Culture Clash, and we wound up getting an offer for a series, and they're like, you should quit your job and manage us and work on the show with us. So I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. So I took that ride and did 3 seasons with them.
Wow.
And then they introduced me to an artist, Roger Guenveur-Smith, who had worked with Spike Lee many, many times. And he had this solo show that he wanted to do about Huey Newton, the founder of the Black Panther Party.
Yes, at the Painted Bride.
Yes.
Philly.
And I was like,
Yes.
I'm from Oakland. Let's do
this. Right.
So we did the show, and we took it around the country, around the world, really.
Yep.
And then Spike directed it as the first piece of original content for Stars. And it kind of, we won a Peabody, and we did like literally 52 film festivals, and really kicked me into gear as a real producer. And then, I produced a lot of indies with Roger and other things, and started a film finance, coming full circle to Dad's ways, a film finance consultancy with a film finance attorney, and started bringing in international clients from around the world who wanted to access Hollywood. And then through that, got on the radar of a French VFX house called Boof. They're the oldest ones in Paris. And I brought them, sequence in Avatar, half the effects on Thor. We did Life of Pi, Dark Knight, Dark Shadows, Green Lantern. We had a crazy, crazy, crazy run. So I got to do all that mad studio stuff and learn that intricacy. But, the blur between LA and Paris got to be kind of, as glamorous as it sounded, it was like, I don't think my brain's gonna last another minute. So I was like, let me just parachute into LA. And that's when I started really focusing on keeping the international thing, but making it more centered here. Yeah. And have, again, worked with Spike again on the Rodney King piece we did recently, and partnered with a gentleman by the name of Theo DeMont, who is a great marketing expert, and we are now representing either for marketing or for management and / production all these companies from around the world.
Wow.
So we got a lot going on.
That's a great ride that's continuing.
I've been on the phone since 6:30 this morning.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Yes.
I'm glad you got in.
London, Tel Aviv, blah blah blah. We've covered it all, but before noon.
Is there what I like about your story too is that you've kind of come from a 360 kind of approach to things, and you cover a variety of different areas. Do you like management more or producing more? I find that the clients I gravitate towards, especially with the companies or the writer-directors, there's an automatic connection between management moving towards production. So it's really about stages. So we're always looking towards moving ourselves into making something else happen. As opposed to like knocking on the door for somebody else to decide. So that's my big thing, is like the more we can do for ourselves, the better.
So because you've sort of been at all the steps in every layer, especially in like the film world. So young people coming up, lots of filmmakers. We've just talked about all these great ideas that kids are having, and it's like the technology has allowed us to sort of be able to create these amazing things, but getting those next steps to, whether it's how do you get it represented, how do you get distribution, how do you like really make it an entire career situation? What pointers would you give to up and coming filmmakers?
I would like to develop. I would like to see, because we're talking about this. There's this theme running through this whole conversation today. I would love to see more people behind the scene and learning how important and how exciting all that is. Absolutely, it would be great to have like critical mass of lots and lots of people doing distribution as Black people. And I can't do everything. None of us can do everything, but we can certainly work together if we have that. I think that what I'd like to do is encourage them to look beyond the camera and look at the systems and get into the systems. Whether it's filling in, having a lot of people in the agency situation, lots and lots of more executives, lots and lots of more distribution people, lots of more finance people. So that when you have that level of that many numbers, it kind of starts to take care of itself. I think to me that's the answer to all this stuff. I don't want anybody doing it because they're supposed to. I want it where you just can't stop it.
And that seems like even something that, like, for example, Charles King.
Charles is a great example.
Macro, and we've seen him, what he's developed and gone to produce, and just amazing things, especially for people of color, that's going to be coming out.
And when you analyze him, though, that finance is a huge key to that success.
So huge.
So I would encourage anybody to study the money and treat it like a grown-up.
And listen to Daddy.
Listen to Daddy. I thought my father was crazy, and he was so right.
Mine too.
Thank you, Dad.
We have to wrap up soon, but I want to have another question with you guys. you both, there's a theme here as well, that you both produce your own projects.
Yes.
And that's what I love, because so many people, as you're saying, want to be in front of the camera. And you got to have a lot more to that just to survive in this industry at this stage. What would you give a suggestion to someone as far as like, how do they really get started if they want to start producing their own projects? Like, do you think it's more of like going the social media angle, or is it trying to build a project and look for financiers? Like, where a lot of people just don't know where to start when you are building your own project.
I'm going to say this. It starts with the word. It starts with the script, it starts with the text, it starts with the story, because at the end of the day, we're storytellers. At the core of all this big machinery, we're storytellers. What's geeking us out about, everything you talked about at Sundance is that the stories sound like you want something you want to hear.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I would say make sure the story is as flawless as you can make it, and then it will start to attract things. That may take you longer than you like to understand.
Absolutely.
But that is where it begins. Be rigorous with yourself on the story level.
Yeah.
I agree 100%, because that was my goal, in that I wanted so many solo shows. Being a solo artist is very difficult, but sometimes I think that we forget about the story because we want to be seen, and I want to be seen too. But for me, I wanted the arc of the character, and I wanted a human being in my mother. I just didn't want her to be the villain. So I really tried to see, as you said, the other side. What was her perspective? And I think that is what really creates tension in a story. And I believe that's why my story is successful. But no, I think it's a good story, but I was very concerned about the story. I wanted the story to work.
Yeah.
Out, like, independent of me, like someone else can come and read it, and it still
And
has
it's
heart.
there. It has all the layers to it.
Yeah.
And then have you seen that now in the industry that the studios are willing to take more chances with people of color and their projects and their talent? Because I thought that this was all going to kind of take fruition now, even with the Oscars, and we're back to kind of where we were 2 years ago with a lack of people of color being nominated. So I'm hopeful in one regards, because we talk about Sundance, but then on the flip side, I'm like, am I just fooling myself? Is this really a transition that's happening?
Well, I think that Sundance is outside of the system. It's a gateway. It's a gateway into the system. The system still remains problematic.
Yeah.
What is encouraging is that there's that many people at the gate right now, and that is unprecedented. And I think, as we're saying, when the numbers are that big, somebody's going to break through.
Yeah.
So I think that is positive. But I need to see people in the system, who look like us, who care and understand these stories, who want to support them and nurture them properly and find audiences, not just in Black communities, but around the world.
Yeah.
Because what I've also found irritating, and I don't want to keep going on about it, but people always said to me, well, Black films don't travel. I'm like, but what about Eddie Murphy, who had people lined up and down around the world in the early 80s?
Yeah.
So how do you and then their response was, well, he's a movie star, that's an exception. To me, all movie stars are an exception.
Yeah. Right.
So you're not really telling me anything, except about yourself.
Exactly.
So
that's true.
And that was one thing that I thought was very interesting. I think the very first time I did like a blurb about my show, I said it's about a little Black girl from a little Black town or something like that. And I was shocked at how many people that were there that were not people of color that could relate to the universal truths of a mother-daughter relationship, the truths of, not seeing, your parent as you should, and just that shocked me. I was really confused in a good way, but it was really confusing. But I think that we have more in common than we have not.
Truly. I love that. Well, that's how we're going to leave the show today.
Yeah.
We have
more in common than we do
not. Remember that.
I love it. Words to live by.
Where can fans find you? We'll start with you, Courtney. Where can fans find you on social media?
I'm all over social media at Stewart Starlet. And I'll be stalking you right back.
We'll be stalking each other. Steven?
At Alta Global Media.
And we'll be stalking you too.
Yes.
Exactly.
Please.
Madeline?
Mattilyn.com, Mattilyn.
And check out her show tomorrow.
Get them last
Yes.
tickets, y'all. There's only
White
15
Fire
left.
Theater. What time does it start?
Starts at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. 15 tickets left. Probably none now. But hopefully, you might be able to get towards the phone
Get
right
on
now.
your phone
Get
right
the-
now.
Get the tickets.
You
Get on the
know?
phone. Support her.
Yes.
Go see her. You can find me at Derrial Christon on every place in social media and on a new season of CBS's This Is LA as one of the hosts.
Yep.
So we will be watching Super Bowl. Who you voting for? Who you want to win?
Huh?
She doesn't care. Steven?
Niners. I'm from the Bay Area.
Niners. Yeah,
Shakira and J-Lo. That's all I care about.
All right. Well, enjoy your Super Bowl, and we'll see y'all next week.
I'll be eating.
Thank you, guys.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content, and be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.